So you've been doing this for decades now.
Yes.
Does it ever feel frustrating that, maybe no one said, well, like you said, all right, here's some money.
Has it ever felt frustration? For the past 20 years, every day, yes, it has felt frustrating. It's a nightmare.
So how
It is not a good thing to discover or find or try to propagate ancient Mediterranean tombs in North America.
No,
it's not. Yeah. Okay, if you're trying to change the history of North America, you have no friends.
Yeah.
If you're trying to change the history of the world, everyone hates you.
The first time I came across Harry years ago, I'm not quite sure, maybe about 2016, roundabout. The first time I saw Harry, he was debunking the Dead Sea Scrolls, and he was so convincing in his decipherment of the ancient script. I just had to know more. The video left me very intrigued to know more about Harry's work. Luckily, I found him on YouTube and I went through his videos and immediately, and I mean immediately, bombarded with a gold mine of ancient information. So make sure you check out his channel. I have provided his link in the description below. He has made some of the most important discoveries in not just American history, but world history.
Thank you.
His findings would set libraries on fire. Now, since then, I've reached out to him, and the fantastic thing about it is we've gotten a chance to share our ideas together and information on a level that most people can't even comprehend. And although me and Harry may not agree on everything, there is no disagreement on the amount of respect we have for one another.
Correct.
It is my pleasure to introduce author, gentleman, scholar, and friend, Mr. Illinois Tomb Man himself, Harry Hubbard.
Thank you, Uriah. And you might want to throw in there that there are so many things that we totally back each other up on and agree with, and that's what we kind of
absolutely.
towards more so because, and just for your audience, this is certainly not the first time you interviewed me. You interviewed me a couple of times before in the past on your previous channels, and we've developed quite a rapport. And by the way, you've got a couple more boxes. I got 2 more boxes to send out to you tomorrow.
Man, if you guys knew the gold mine Harry's been sending me, oh my goodness, the books he sent me, I can't wait to, I honestly can't wait to share some of the stuff.
Wait till you see the next one.
And I honestly can't wait to share this conversation with the world. This is the world prior to our conversation. So a lot of people may not know as much about you coming from my channel, but I just want to let, before we get started, let the people know just a little bit about yourself, Harry, if you don't mind.
I was born and raised in Rome, Georgia. I went to public school, and I went to also a private school for 1 year. And my mother made me memorize the scripture out of the Bible. And I was baptized Christian. And the 90s, 80s, I collect minerals. Got a world-class mineral collection that I recently put a video online showing that. I'm just all over the place, kind of like you.
Right. So, and this is a good segue. So you're talking about these ancient coins. So how long have you been working and or interested in ancient discoveries in general? When did that fascination start picking up for you?
I think the seed was planted when I was living in Charlotte. My dad, he kept sending me science magazines, and I show some of those, and it's got my Charlotte address on it, and there was an advertisement in there for some ancient coins, And I just thought that was intriguing. Wow, man, you can buy ancient coins, you know? Wow, that's cool. I want to also say that my father was a big influence on me. My father was born in Texas and graduated out of Prescott High School in Arizona. Well, there's this big thing between Arizona and Texas called New Mexico. And my father had been there. He had seen several unidentified aerial craft, or what he didn't know. And so he was, when I grew up, when I was growing up, even since I can just barely remember, he had flying saucer books, the classics. He had them there. So I grew up with those. So I was always wide open to that.
Right. What are your thoughts? And this is kind of a pivot. What are your thoughts on Admiral Byrd and his report on the flying saucers? This is a subject we've never really talked about.
I was a big fan of his. I had a first edition signed Admiral Byrd like 30 years ago, and I had all of his books, first editions. I'd read them, and now though there's some seemingly distorted stuff that came out. So like, well, I never saw that in the book, you know. But his interviews are great. Now we can see him. My father, this is the thing. My father, back in the 30s or so, was listening to, I think it was ABC or CBS radio. He was listening to the radio and listen because he was Admiral Byrd was giving updates like every 5 or 6 hours or so. And my dad had told me when I was a child that he was listening to Admiral Byrd on the radio when they cut him off.
Oh, really?
Yeah. He was listening. He was actually listening live to Admiral Byrd when they took him off the air.
And this is during the flying saucers. Or is this?
Yeah, when he was flying, I think in the Arctic.
Okay, I didn't know if it was the Arctics or the Antarctics.
Yeah, this was the Arctic.
Okay. So what about the I guess you would call it, maybe, I don't know if you call it the Hollow Earth account or the account of the civilization that he met?
Well, that's what my father was always interested in. And so when Paul and I cut our first video, my YouTube channel is not really mine; it's mine and Paul. We both share probably equal on that. And my father was intrigued. He loved our first video was called Laseria Map Collection, and I show these maps from the early 1600s, late 1500s, where it shows you how to get down inside the Earth, and it gives you all these descriptions. There's several maps that show that. And I was like the first one that showed maps, but now other people have, you know, taken our lead and made their own observations, which is fine. I don't care. You know, it's great that people follow up on our work. You probably don't mind it when people follow up on your work, so, or discovery. And my father thought that he was all for it, and that's kind of when they cut Admiral Byrd off, is he was talking about he saw a herd of elephants running north, and that the landscape had turned all green.
Right.
And then they cut him off.
Yeah.
I also believe.
Yeah, I remember that tape. Go. Sorry.
Yeah, I also believe that my father was present at the Battle of Los Angeles, and I think he was debriefed on it because he was stationed in California at that time. At that time, was 1942, I believe, February the 25th, my birthday, 1942, and where they fired 1,100 tons. What they say now is, it was a balloon. It was a balloon. No, it was something in the air that they were trying to shoot down, and they couldn't do it.
We have reptilians. Ladies and gentlemen, I have no reason whatsoever to pull your legs or to feed you a line. But in March of 1997, March the 15th to be exact, we had an auction in Peoria, Illinois. And this particular stone was not there. We can see him on the, let's go look at the other. This is him on the other side. But there were available there for anybody who, I think he went for $35. And if I'd had the extra money, I'd have bought him a life-size bust head of a reptilian.
I think people will be so mind blown
to see the sheer amount of evidence that you have. You know, you've already. I think for people to understand how important it is to share this work, because this is like you said, a tornado comes and you lose all your stuff, and all for nothing. And the stuff that you have is the type of history that no one has ever observed. Pretty much no one. You have.
Well, even the people who collect these artifacts, they have never seen everything put together in galleries like I did.
Right.
This guy owns
all in one place. Right.
Yeah. Here's his gallery. Here's this gallery. And there's a lot of painted stones too. There's only like maybe 10 or 15 actual fake stones that are carved in modern times. But there's a lot of
are they the like the black stones, or are they different?
Mostly the black stones. And
there's so many of these. That's why I'm so curious to know. Like, were they all found in the same place?
Yeah. Yep. But years ago, after we jumped in summer of '94. Burrows was doing everything he could to belittle us, to insult us. He was telling people I was a canary hound. He's a gun runner. I was a gun runner. I was a drug runner. I was all these things. And he told the people that were buying stones from him, he goes, if you have anything to do with Harry Hubbard and Paul Shafranca, I'm not going to sell you any more stones. And then he started painting them. Well, he started putting the mystic symbol on them. He started adding letters. Once he had seen our Tomb Tape 3 and the Isaac video, and maybe later Tomb Tape 4, he knew that he learned alphabetic characters off of our videos. And then he started scratching those in at the beginning of the line and at the end of the line.
I wanted to ask you about that. Did he even know, did he have the knowledge to properly fabricate something? No, he was just inscribing characters that obviously did not match. We can see them coming from across the room, where others were trying to decipher them and using the fake or the tainted lettering to use in their deciphering. All it did was just mess them up. So basically, he was doing mostly script. He was forging mostly script. Was he doing pictures as well, or mostly script? Is what I'm asking.
Just script. He would taint certain letters. He would only put like maybe 5 or 6 letters or 8 letters on a tablet, on a good tablet, and that's all he had to do to scramble up somebody's decipherment effort. And we busted it. I mean, we can see them coming from across the room, but the amateurs that have not been affiliated with this or haven't studied Paul and mine's research, they can't tell the difference. So there was a fellow in Evergreen, Colorado. Burrow sold him 17 stones, I think, for like $350 a piece. And the guy said since he couldn't decipher it, that they had to be fake. Well, every stone he had been painted. Every stone he purchased from Burrows had been painted. And then so he just put them up on eBay. And I told people, hey, can you decipher this? Don't want to because it's been tainted. We told everybody that they were tainted. Burrows had tainted them. And once a stone is tainted, I mean, it has to go through forensics.
So what do you think? Like, why would he doing that? If he owned the original,
to scramble up and mix up anybody that was, or to fool Paul and myself, because he knew these people would or in the case like with the mystic symbol or Helios, he would scratch Helios on several stones just because he knew that the buyer would pay more money.
Got you.
Helios.
Got you.
Harry and Paul, they got, they know the motif, and
was he using it?
That's on a lot of stones.
Was he primarily using those black stones?
Yeah.
So it's almost like I'm trying to figure out what was the purpose for those stones. It almost seems like they were like I don't know, like, you know how people used to have basketball cards, or, you know what I mean? Like, what are they? Were they used for something, or are they just little works of art?
Quite possibly could have been used for ballast, and then soaking in the salt water made them, easier to carve. I mean, I did a whole series on snakes on one of my videos. I think it was.
And how much rock would they had to bring over? They brought over rocks. They brought over rocks with pyrite and marble on a ship, apparently.
Yeah, and that there's several snakes that are clearly rattlesnakes, and there's several snakes that are clearly cobras. So it's the best of both worlds.
Yeah, I saw that. I saw the snakes that were cobras. I was like, oh, there goes a cobra. You know, they're not here, which I thought was interesting. And then I saw, which I thought was cool, you have these tablets with the angry sun. You know, the sun that's mad, it's like they have the sun and it's got the flames around it, and he's got an angry face. And you know what that reminds me of? Mario Brothers. Mario Brothers. There's a few levels on Mario Brothers where there's an angry sun and he's chasing you. The sun is trying to kill you. And he's got the same face that they have on these ancient tablets. These ancient unknown tablets, by the way. This is, you know, secret knowledge of the lesser known. This isn't like the propaganda that you see in like ancient Egypt, which is pretty much, you know, commercialized history, right?
Yeah.
We have an angry somebody in whatever year they decided to do that, made an angry sunshine. And that exact replication made it onto Mario Brothers. I'm going to put a tablet. What I'm going to do on the videos, I'm going to put that tablet beside Mario Brothers, and you're going to see. You're going to see.
There's a lot. Excuse me. There are a lot of angry moons also.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
I wonder, because I stopped playing Mario Brothers. I bet you there's an angry moon on Mario too. Maybe not. I don't know.
And one of your past questions is, you know, as far as favorite artifacts. I love the unbelievable artifacts. It's got it's got a lot of naked women. I mean, pretty naked women. And one of my favorites is at the 15-minute mark of unbelievable artifacts. But I show several women that are fine. I mean, they're carved in a black stone, and you can still tell they are very well proportioned. Upper, lower, mid, everything. I mean, yeah.
Okay.
And it's age restricted because at the end of it, it has a male and a female copulating in what we would term today doggy style.
Oh yeah, you were telling me it was almost like you had like the porn tablets. That's crazy.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, I see these tablets.
Yeah.
And these tablets are basically the same material, the marble and the.
Yeah, the black stone, the Lavanya.
Lavanya. There you go.
Now, if somebody is questioning of how all this stuff, how all these artifacts got over here, they were all brought by Mark Antony and Cleopatra's missing son from history, Alexander Helios. He's missing from history at about the age of 10. And here they wonder, well, what happened to him? What happened to him? And here we have him as a teenager, in his early 20s, as an old man. We have his wife, and you got.
So you actually have multiple depictions of Helios through the ages.
Yeah.
So it's almost like he grew up through these tablets.
Yeah.
Interesting.
That's what we have to document his life, and that's on the black stone and also on some of the gold pieces. So Burrow wouldn't have known how to do that.
Right.
Burrow had no clue of what had happened or who was on these stones until he watched our Deciphering video. He had no. He could have in the late 80s. There is some folklore here that a guy got caught out there fishing, and that there was a guy said there's evidence that Alexander the Great's been here, and they didn't even know who Alexander the Great was. And it's written about in treasure books from the 60s, the late 60s, the early 70s.
So do you think that? Okay, so we found these artifacts. Do you think you think it's possible that they're buried in that location?
That what, the artifacts are buried here?
Specifically, Alexander Helios.
No, it does not appear that Alexander Helios is buried here.
Gotcha.
He's somewhere else. We don't know where he is. It's possible we haven't been in the tomb. So if you know where it's at, we're trying to get somebody to purchase the property.
Right.
And I thought that maybe I've been on the History Channel. I've done several radio interviews in New York, Houston, Atlanta, all these. I was hoping, just keep hoping, that somebody with a chunk of change will come up. Hey, man, I'm going to shut that Harry Hubbard. I'm going to shut Paul Shafrock and Harry Hubbard up. I'm going to prove that this is not Alexander the Great's tomb and Cleopatra ain't here. See, that's all in Turkey, Siberia, wherever. Okay, and no one has come. But even so, none of our decipherments, none of our history has been debunked at all. And since day one, when we came up with this, we have never had to go back and say, well, we got that wrong. Oh, we got that wrong. We have done nothing but add to it. I mean, when Paul came into my office with his backpack, and he said, hey, man, I busted Burrow's cave. I said, okay, what is it? He said, it's the lost tomb of Alexander the Great, including all the Ptolemies. And I'm like, oh, my gosh, because I've known him for a couple of years. I knew the guy was brilliant. You know, this guy's got an IQ of 190 plus.
He does seem like a really smart guy when I see him in your videos. I'm like, oh, he seems really smart.
Yeah, he speaks 8 languages fluently. He knows 35 ancient alphabets. I mean, he dreams in Numidian. Okay, I only know like 10. Okay, so I can see his dust, but I'm way behind.
That's crazy. That is.
And so I got all the books out, and we started studying and reading and studying, and he kept making more and more decipherments using his. I mean, if it's a D or an F or an FL on this tablet, it's the same thing on all the others. That's how come we have put out these videos with so many good decipherments on them. S is the end of the word or the end of the sentence. Okay, we put it out to where other people can come up with a Latin or a Romanian or a Greek dictionary, and they can start making their own decipherments, accurate decipherments. It's going to take a lot of time, it's a learning curve, but we left them with enough that they can jump in and make some real good headway. So for 2 weeks we were numb. I mean, we couldn't sleep. We couldn't.
I know. I just can't even imagine. Your jaw just probably dropped to the floor the first time he said it. He's like, you're probably like, nah, you're lying. Well, okay, what is it really?
No. We've known each other. We knew. If Paul tells you a chicken can plow, you better look for the hook. And same thing as my employees knew that if Harry says the chicken can plow, look for the hook. And so everything just came up supporting what his discovery was. Everything. I was making discoveries. He was making more discoveries and doing more decipherments. And these are long decipherments. These decipherments are not just trivial or frivolous. They are good, solid decipherments. And they have withstood the test of time since 1994. And then we shortened it all down into Tomb Tape 4 and added a bunch of decipherments.
Yeah, I'm going to share some clips from Tomb Tapes, for sure.
But I had all these ancient alphabets. I had so many good ancient alphabet books. I mean, Britannica, Extinct Languages, Quid, or ancient languages. Just so many. And we were able to put the stuff together, and it just came up dead nuts every time. It was like, okay, here's another one.
Now, have you found any of the same script anywhere else?
Yeah, we actually found some of the same script in the ravine, but we believe that Burrow salted these tablets, and you can also, the closest script is probably the Gosel script, and there was also a find from Carthage in southern Italy. and Paul made a couple of decipherments on that, and the guy that was sending us the stuff, this guy named Andrea, whatever, he ran because Paul said, okay, where's the rest of it? Where's the rest of it? And then we didn't hear from him again. Paul busted it, dude. These guys were stealing the stuff.
Oh.
These guys were stealing it. But and you find the Iberic script in Spain uses a lot of the same characters. Etruscan, Umbrian, Oscan, Belgiscan uses the same script, the same letters, the characters. Punic script has some of the same characters, and but you know it's all Mediterranean. You'll
Right.
see the name of a Greek god written in Latin characters, and the description is in Egyptian hieroglyphs. You know, I'm not bullshitting you. You know, it's just.
If you take that, it's almost like they reverse engineered cultures. If you were to see something that would be classically Egyptian, it's like if you look on the pyramids or something like that, you're not going to find any other text. You're not going to find anything Greek.
Right.
I think that element right there also, it brings up a lot of questions, for one, but it also makes the authenticity far more intriguing and compelling. Because you're literally seeing a combination of cultures on one piece of art.
Yeah. But you'll see Egyptian, you'll see Greek characters, you'll see Latin characters, Punic characters, and there's some Numidian tablets too. Clearly Numidian. Ancient Berber, Tamazight, whatever you want, Ptolemaic,
Right.
whatever you want to call it. And then, you know, there's a lot of tablets that have clearly Afrocentric Ancient Americans. I mean, they are clearly, there's no mistaking that. And I made that video for you. I had all those tablets. We didn't know what to do, so I'm going to cut a video dedicated to you.
Man, I appreciate
And
it.
then,
And we're talking about some good-looking stuff, man. I mean, these tablets, flawless. So then you have to, because you know, you actually brought those questions up. It's like, well, okay, this person obviously, he's got to be somebody. They put him on a tablet, and it's like he's put on a tablet that it seems like they're on. I don't know. I would imagine every single person who appears on one of these tablets is somewhat of an ancient player of significance, you know.
Yes. And they had names. They had rank. And why would they carve them? I mean, the guy would have to be there to carve them. And they're left, right, head on, face forward. And there's many of them are quite noble. Mm-hmm. And that was my whole deal is
and highly detailed with like. Extremely, I think one of the elements also appreciated is you can see the culture in their dress. And their, you know, from the way that people have their hair to their headdresses to even like you can just tell like, okay, this guy's a soldier here. Oh, okay.
Yeah. And it just doesn't stop. The more you look into it, the more it just keeps on rolling.
Yeah, I'm looking at that video right now. I'm looking at these examples.
And it is quite a learning curve. I mean, you know a heck of a lot of, because you've been following this for years and years. And you've watched several of our videos, and I was, you know, when I first saw your, I don't know how many videos did you have on your previous YouTube channel?
To be honest with you, I think I might have had 60 or 70.
That's what I was thinking. And I had a lot of subscribers and people coming and commenting. Hey, man, I heard you on UV News, and so I'm here. Man, it's great. I thank him for the information. You know, of sending. So you sent several people to our webpage. I mean, our YouTube channel. And I agree with you on so many things. Now, you may not necessarily agree with me on some things, and I may not necessarily agree with you on some things, but brother, the stuff that we totally agree with each other on is just a plethora of information. We have so much that we agree on, and that's what I really like to jump on, is all the stuff that you do that I mean, some of the things that you come up with, I'm like, wow, that was sitting in my lap, and I never picked that up and look at it, you know. But man, there's some things that you covered in your videos that just came true last December, like all the rain and such that in California, and your hypothesis that the valley in California actually was an ancient ocean or an ancient freshwater sea. Mm-hmm. And then we saw it. You know, how can this happen? Well, we saw the flood. We saw the Joaquin and the Napa Valley. It's the same valley. It's just that San Joaquin is one section and Napa is another section. It's the same, pretty much the same valley.
Same valley.
It's just separated by Stockton or Sacramento or something. But north of it is called one thing, south of it is called. And you pegged it, man. You pegged that so cool. I mean, you did a video, and you made me think. Now, I had to make a post. I said, you know, these old maps, they may have been true. I mean, Stockton is only 30 feet above sea level. That's nothing. That's nothing.
In the right, and for California to be such a mountainous area all the way to the cliff, because when you're talking about that area, when you get to the ocean, there's, you know, if you've ever gone down the Pacific Coast Highway, which is one of the best highways ever, but you're looking 200, 300 feet down in some parts to the ocean. Those cliffs are rocky. It's not the same as, you know, it's not the same as the East Coast coastline. So if Stockton's only a couple of feet above sea level, think about that.
Yeah, well, that's it comes off of the San Francisco Bay, and then that river goes up to Stockton, and then it keeps going. Then you have the Sacramento River.
Sacramento. Mm-hmm.
And you know, just everything that you had come up with, I'm like, you know, those maps may be true. I mean, it may have been just a whole, you know, deal there back in the 1500s that we don't know. We don't know.
Well, and even think about it. Because we know what dams do to the environment. They pretty much change the path of water and nature all around. Now imagine if California doesn't have those dams, the land is, for all intents and purposes, mostly submerged. We don't know what the land looks like. But we do know what that San Joaquin Valley would look like.
Even today, when they get these major storms, there's landslide after mudslide after landslide after mud, all the time, every day, all day. There's all these mudslides, rocks coming down, and you can't do anything about it. So what did it look like 1,000 years ago? We don't know. But we do know that we still have those massive, massive landslides.
Yep. That didn't change.
No. It just got worse. No matter what they do to hold the water back, you still got landslides.
Right. Still trying to tussle with nature. We'll see who wins that battle. Has nature ever lost?
Now this is the tablet here. This is the real deal. This is also from Jack Ward's collection from the mid-1980s. And this tablet isn't very large. It's probably about 4 inches by 2 inches or so. And this was the real deal here. Now I'm going to blow it up and let you look at it here. We're going to start at the top. And it's just covered with Egyptian glyph. Here you see Ra with the rays of the sun coming down. And right here in the dead center of the tablet is a cartouche with the Helios motif right in the center of it. So that was one for a head scratcher for the scholars, because they had never seen an Egyptian cartouche with Greek characters in the middle of it. But hey, we've got them all over the place. This is about 1/2 inch here in this part of the loop. So that would mean that this snake's head would be about 1/2 inch, or a little bit less, maybe 3/8 of an inch. And I'm going to blow this up. And here we see either eye in the sky, all-seeing eye, or something else. I'm not convinced that all of them are the all-seeing eye or the eye of Ra. And here's the Tanit. And I just want you to notice the expression and the character in the snake's face. I think that is incredible. I mean, just making a couple of lines here, there, and just getting it so right. Just getting it so perfect. Take one. Heck of an accomplished artist to do that. This was not this fella's first tablet. But here you see Helios kind of in a makeshift cartouche. This square here had to be scraped out, smoothed out, and then the Helios be put in it. And here we have another of Helios. We used this one, I think, in Tomb Tape 3, and I think in Book 1 also. And this also shows him, shows Helios at an older age, advanced age. But the head style here is definitely, or the helmet style here is definitely Egyptian. And that concludes this part of the presentation concerning Helios.
I think that's the quality about a lot of these pieces that I find so intriguing, is the fact that they seem so ancient, they seem so primitive in comparison, but yet they reflect the same symbology that we're familiar with.
Correct. Yeah. All over the place. Mm-hmm.
And I like the way that you put it when you say Mediterranean, where it's like, you know, the things in these pieces that you've shown in your videos, these are, you know, a culmination of different cultures.
Yeah.
You know, you're saying Egyptian.
Mediterranean, because there is Latin, there is Punic, there is Greek, and there is a lot of Egyptian. And there's some Demotic, there's Numidian, there's, several languages, but they all seem to cavitate or, right around, the Eastern Mediterranean, Northern Mediterranean, all over the place.
Like, what do local archaeologists have to say about this? Are they interested in this stuff?
No, it's way over their heads. They believe that Paul and I was working years ago with Russell Burrows, and that we went to Egypt and either brought them over here, or Paul and I carved them, or Russell Burrows carved them. That they're all fakes, they're all frauds. So if somebody wanted to really see how many of these artifacts there are, there's the gallery, but that gets them started, and then there's the Egyptian series, and then there is several other artifacts. There's one from lecture number 4 that I put a lot. That one has all the map stones in it and a lot of decipherments that aren't anywhere else.
So, were most of these pieces, were they found like on top of each other? Are they literally in the same space? Like, how far apart were these things spread out? And also, I would like to know, has anything else that resembles these pieces specifically been found anywhere else outside of, the Burrow's Little Egypt region?
There appears to be some similarity with Moundsville down in Alabama.
Okay.
The hand with the eye in the middle of it, that appears that it could be of the same genre. And there's some other things too that people have found along the way that are obviously Roman. There's been Roman coins found all over this country, all over up and down the Ohio. And in one of my lectures, I think it's Covers of Columbus, I go into the Melungeons, which evidently they were making clothes. They were weaving, which is an entire industry, And then all the stuff that they found along the Clinch River. Just unbelievable stuff.
What did they find?
They found that temple, a huge temple under 30 feet of soil, and they found Alexander the Great coins, and they had found all kinds of ancient coins, ancient European coins here, even in Illinois.
What? I mean, how does something like that get here? How does something like that get here, Harry, and also not be anywhere on the historical record?
in a geological volatile area, geographically volatile area, whereas today we have the ability to rebuild when a tornado comes through, or a flood, or a hurricane, or some super high winds. Whatever happens, we can rebuild. Well, these other people, ancient times, they couldn't. The only thing we can see that they had left was their mounds and their mound systems, and some of the other ancient cities that were huge. And I was explaining to you a couple weeks ago about Emerald Mound, which is like 12 miles from Cahokia, which is another huge complex. They had a highway going between Cahokia and the other and Emerald Mound, and that whole area is like really strange. Just really strange.
How so?
Well, some of it appears that there could have been a meteor impact there. There's shadow cones found in the creeks there. The main creek that comes off of Emerald Mound is called Silver Creek. Well, why do you want to call it Silver Creek? There's bound to be silver in it, and I have seen actually some of the silver that was in Silver Creek. And then nevertheless, you have mound systems up and down the Mississippi, the Ohio. Of course, there's Cahokia and Emerald Mound right there, and then there was a huge mound right there at St. Louis, but they leveled that to build the town. There's just a little remnant of it left. And then you have Winter Garden mounds down in, I think, Mississippi, and then you have Kincaid mounds at the southern tip of Illinois, or close to the tip. It's a huge mound complex. Dickinson Mounds. There's mound complexes all over Illinois. There's a huge mound just south of me that runs 14 acres. It's 45 feet high, and then there's other mounds around here too.
But it's reasonable. Would it be reasonable to think that other objects of this nature have already been excavated from these mounds that have been for the most part plundered and or built over for the last 200 years? So, do you think that's probable, or is it because of the foreign substance that these materials are made out of that makes that maybe more improbable?
It's hard to say. They had some. There was the Spiro Mound down in Oklahoma. I think it's along the Arkansas River. Just a plethora of just thousands and thousands of artifacts that clearly look Mexican or ancient Mexican.
And this stone is a different composite. And I'm going to blow it up and look and show it to you. There's some problems with it. Now here we have a man who's holding a knife or a dagger here. And I don't know if the camera's going to pick this up, but right here he's holding a head. This head's been chopped off, and he's holding it by the hair. That's why we call this tablet beheaded. I'm going to scroll it on down. Notice his garment here. It's all Egyptian. Yep. And here we get to the script. And here we see some more of that Carthaginian type lining here. This is not Ogham. It's just a tallying of some sort. And the script here, I wouldn't touch it with a 10-foot pole until it'd been through forensics. Because notice how much deeper these right here are, and there's a couple of them up here, than the rest of them. And all of this is script over here. And if this tablet made it through forensics, except for the characters I feel are suspicious, then it'd be worth maybe sitting down with it and working with it and getting some words out of it, lifting some things. It's going to be talking about this guy here cutting the heads off. A lot of these tablets, if it's a scene or person on one side and there's script on the back of it, that is, it's going to be a detail or a description or something having to do with the picture.
Our channel is pretty diverse. Our main thing is this tomb over here in Marion County. And the artifacts associated, all the history that is associated with it, all the past articles that have been online. My webpage got hacked, and it was just trashed out. And there was a lot of good articles, historical articles on there. Which one of these days maybe it might go back online. I don't know. But that's our main thing. But I collected currencies before we got into this. I collected coins. I collected ancient coins, archaic maps, antique maps. And so I had a lot of collections and just started putting them out. But our main thing is this tomb here in Marion County, and the fact that we knew that the stones would tell where this place was, and they did. That's in lecture number 4.
Mm-hmm.
And what we've been saying since June of 1994, that this is the final resting place of not only Alexander the Greatest, but Queen of Queens Cleopatra and the entire Ptolemaic Dynasty. All of them. All these ancient kings. And there's never been anybody that found them anywhere else. And people have been looking for them on the wrong continent. They've been looking for them for Egypt, from Africa, the Middle East, Macedonia, Greece, and they're not there. They're over here. And
in Marion County, Illinois.
We were the first people, Paul and I were the first persons to ever say, hey, we found Alexander the Great's tomb. Okay, we didn't find it. It's been written about in treasure books since 1925. It was first found in 1925 by this guy named Orville Lowry and his 2 daughters. He was out there with his 2 daughters. And his oldest daughter had told me back in 94, 95 that she was the actual one that found the pit where you went down and then you could go into this tomb. And so, given that, we were the first person to, or the first group, or working together, that filed an actual legal document that this was Alexander's tomb, including Cleopatra, and her name is Cleopatra here in this tomb, not Cleopatra.
Right.
And then that was in summer of 94. And then in winter of 95 began somebody else, this Greek woman said that she found something in Siwa. Could be Alexander. Said, well, she didn't have any stones that had his picture on them. She didn't have any Egyptian hieroglyphs that said Alexander, Mariamun, Septet, Ra, Archspantris, which we had. There's several tablets here that depict Cleopatra and Archspantris. Archspantris is the Egyptian word for Alexander. And the academia here in North America, they want to see Alexander the Great. They wouldn't want to see like Magnus Alexandros or Mariamun Septet Ra or Archspantris. They want to see Alexander the Great. That's how crazy they are.
Wow.
That's how crazy they are. But since then, in winter of 95, that kicked off another group that said they had found Alexander's tomb, but you hear about it, and nothing ever happened. And since then, the last one was just this past December. The second week of December, they said that they found an underground tunnel that could lead to Cleopatra's tomb. That was number 18. That was the 18th pseudo Cleopatra burial site in Egypt and Syria, Jordan. Gosh, you name it, man. So
They can't find any of them.
No, they have nothing to show for anybody.
Meanwhile, in Marion County, Illinois,
we got the goods. Yep, we got the goods, and none of them have a plethora of artifacts. Say what you want. Oh, they're all fake. Thousands and thousands and thousands of them fake. That are just hands. I mean, these are artisans. These are not Harry Hubbard and Paul Shafranca and Russell Burrows carving these stones. It's not. These things are perfect. They are. A lot of them are just beautiful, especially the stand-up marble statues. They are just beautiful. And
you would also have to have the knowledge to do such things.
Yeah, and to make it, and you'd have to have the knowledge of the script, and all of our decipherments are letter for letter, word for word. And there's Egyptian hieroglyphs. I've got several decipherments of that. Paul's got dozens and dozens of Latin, Punic characters.
there ever been like a serious academic actually, endorse your work? Has there been, some guy at Harvard or some curator at some museum who's like, you know what, Harry Hubbard, he's got the goods?
Cyclone Covey, Wake Forest, but he was a wacko. Joe Mahan endorsed our work. He was okay. He was one of my dad's heroes. And he was a professor at Reinhardt College, and he also ran an archeological group down in Columbus, Georgia. He passed away in the summer of '95. Cyclone Covey, he died. He was conceived in a tornado. He's from Oklahoma, so they named him Cyclone.
Wow. Well, his parents thought they were going to die, so they were like, you know what, let's just...
There's a tornado coming, man. Let's just hop in the sack real quick. Make it quick.
Right.
But beyond that, there's been other people who have, most of the people have slanted Burroughs through the years because he wouldn't take them there. But we got a letter of endorsement from Dr. Cyrus Gordon from back in the 90s. He endorsed our work. And that's an Isaac video, I think. But, it's not, well, part of the problem was we could tell that this was an archaic form of Latin, and we likened it to Etruscan. So all we got to do is find an Etruscan expert, and they'll reply right off the bat, well, there were none. And as good as you could get was Larissa Bonfonte, and she's a wacko. The only reason she's got a name is because of her father. And then I sent her a decipherment tape, saying, okay, yeah, I've been saying for years and years that Etruscan is linguistically isolated. Okay, well, what about Latin? What about Umbrian, Oscan, Faliscan? What about those? I mean, it's the same characters. Etruscan, Oscan, Faliscan, Umbrian, they're all from the same place, central Italy. Why are you saying it's linguistically isolated when you got other stuff? And then when I sent her a decipherment, she goes, this is what she said. I don't know why you're doing this. I don't know why you're doing this. I'm like, well, because Paul busted this script, and we figured that you'd want to see what it says, and this and that. Because we also sent there's also a bunch of Etruscan scripts that Paul busted too. The Gladiator tablet was one of them. That's in the Isaac video. And that's what I'm saying is there's all kinds of decipherments. There's probably, I wouldn't be surprised if there were 80 to 100 decipherments with all those videos. And it's all letter by letter, word for word. And it's a learning curve. If somebody wants to take that on, they have got to watch a lot of it. It's like your stuff too. Our video channel, our YouTube channel, and as well as yours, they are designed for people with higher IQs and longer attention spans. And that's how you're so able to go so deep into some of your subjects. I mean, your America is Egypt series, your episode, UBTV episode series, I find them just absolutely entertaining. Some of them are just hilarious. Some of the stuff you come up with is just so out in left field, but I never thought about that. You make a point there. Yeah, it's like, what? You are teaching people to think outside the box, and you're kind of having an effect on them in that respect that I don't think that they really understand at this point. There's some of your stuff I have to pause and then rewatch it. Just pause it, go back another minute or so, and then watch it again, because you come up with so much good material, and especially with your clips. The clips that you use, how do you find these clips? I just don't know.
A lot of digging here.
Production is bar none. I just have a couple of cameras, and I have to everything to do myself.
To be honest, Harry, you are, for lack of a better way to put it, you are an inspiration. Coming across your information. When I first came across your information, because I heard your decipherment, and the first video I ever saw was you debunking the Dead Sea Scrolls. And when I came across it, I literally listened to it, and I'm like, oh, this guy knows his shit. Like, you literally, like, you can tell when people are, like, you know, they're kind of glazing over the subject, or they're truly not that knowledgeable about something, and they're kind of giving you superficial information. You didn't do that at all. You and Paul, you know, you guys were tight, to the point that I was so inspired, I was like, man, I got to go find you. And luckily for me, you had a YouTube channel. And so from that point on, you know, at some point I reached out to you, we became friends. But, you know, it was a great day for me, because you taught me to dig deeper. You know, I always had this feeling about the Dead Sea Scrolls, and I do want you to share that story, by the way. I always had this feeling about the Dead Sea Scrolls, but to have you articulate it in such a way, it's like, oh, I got to go check this dude out. And then after that, you got all these artifacts.
Back when I was interested in it, my dad had subscribed to BAR magazine, Biblical Archaeology Review, and it was all a cash cow on the Dead Sea Scrolls. That's all but they never printed anything. All they did was talk about the Dead Sea Scrolls, and you couldn't get any information. So I had to get these books from Poland, Yugoslavia, Russia, and Paul could read the script in them. Okay, fine. And so that was part of how we busted the Dead Sea Scrolls, is with the information that we were actually able to get. And back then there were all Dead Sea Scrolls were written in this perfect double-spaced block Hebrew script, and it had a Latin syntax. And we believe that is why they didn't allow any Dead Sea Scrolls information to be put into this country, because somebody would figure out that it was a Latin syntax. And Paul did. He figured it out. It was a Latin syntax. And then I'm like going, okay, here. And now they've got Greek and Aramaic Dead Sea Scrolls, and then there's the Damascus Scrolls, all this other stuff. And it's just all a bunch of bogus. It's a cash cow. It's all it is a cash cow.
Those also written in Latin syntax?
Yeah. And so...
Are they written on papyrus, or are they also written on...
People are preaching, just kind of give it another thought. You know, if it doesn't sound right, well, chances are it's not.
Right. Were those other scrolls... Were those other scrolls, were they written on papyrus, or were they also written on...
They were written on sheepskin, goatskin.
Gotcha.
And that was another one too, because they didn't write on sheepskin, goatskin. And then where did they get their ink? How did they keep their ink moist out in one of the most torrid places on the planet? And then it was Dr. John Strugnell, who was a handwriting specialist. He said all the Dead Sea Scrolls are written by the same person. And that's some of what you're going to see in that Pandora's box. All these court records after the Civil War, they're all written by the same person. And that's a big problem.
Yeah, I did know that. You know what? I actually read that. I read over that.
Yeah, and so it's not. And Josephus is just a bogus book. I cover that in one of my videos. All of my videos have table of contents, so you can go back right to wherever you want to, see something. And he goes, the Essenes? No, there's only one. There's only one Essene. There's no S at the end of the scene. And that was just part of it. Busted the Dead Sea Scrolls is we had an end to making some questions for Dr. John Strugnell when he was still alive, and then he passed away. And I told Paul, I said, man, we've got all this stuff. How come we can't answer these questions ourselves? Well, let's get to it. And so we just busted our ass, and it took about, a month to put all that together. And then it was 1997 that we went on record as the first people to ever call BS on the Dead Sea Scrolls.